Moin, ihr wunderbare Menschen des Interwebs. Ich begrüße euch ganz herzlich zurück zu meinem Let's Play von The Great Ace-Attorney Chronicles. Wir sind bei unseren Ermittlungen hier stehen geblieben und werden uns jetzt einmal... Okay, das kann ich... Dahin kann ich gehen. So. Ich würde mir gerne einmal den Storeroom angucken. Behind the door. It's the storeroom, isn't it? That's what Grexy said. Yes, and that's where I saw the dreadful scene last night. Through the little window in the door. Mr. Winniebank, face down on the floor, with Gina beside him. As the accused's legal representative, you have the right to examine the scene, Mr. Naruhodo. We must make a thorough investigation. Yes, of course, and we will. Behind the door. That's the real scene of the crime. Don't worry, if there are clues in there, I will find them. Gut, dann kann ich das jetzt auswählen. Ja, jetzt kann ich das auswählen. Okay. Winniebank's Storeroom. Poor Iris. She's clammed up completely. Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Winniebank's life was taken in this very room only last night. Wait, Inspector! What is it now, Sunshine? You took one look at me and tried to run away. You think a Scotland Yard inspector would run away from some jump-up little defense lawyer, do ya? Well... I've never seen her ladyship looking like that before, it's the thing. I didn't know what to say to her. But you weren't running away from me, you were running away from a 10-year-old? I'm afraid this is all a little much for young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way perhaps, Inspector. Don't trouble yourself, unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you? Das war wirklich hilfreich. I don't think that went very well. Look, I'm in the middle of an investigation here, Sunshine, and I told you not to get under my feet. And we have investigating to do ourselves. I would like to hear more of what the socially inept inspector has to say. Thoroughly, and inquire into how Mr. Sholmes' operation is going. So, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here? You've got eyes, haven't you? Use them! It is what it looks like, nothing more, nothing less. Iris, could you lend me a hand? So, Grexy, what do you make of the crime scene here? Oh, yes, your ladyship, do allow me to humbly explain. Last night, shortly after the hour of 1 o'clock in the morning, Scotland Yard police attended the scene. The one and only door to the storeroom was found locked from the inside. So it was locked from the inside. The lock appears to be broken now, though. What's that the police officers doing? Quite right, ma'am, quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in as humbly as possible. As you can see, the victim was discovered prostrate on the floor. And next to the aforementioned body, we discovered the vile gutter child. Are you talking about Ginny? She's my friend, you know, Inspector. Miss Lestrade, the hapless girl was curled up on the floor, dead to the world. She's still alive, you know? Yes, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious. And I'm afraid to say she had the gun that was used in her hand. Presumably it's the gun that's still down there on the floor now. In her pocket, we found the key to the door as well. What? The key to the storeroom? And you say the storeroom had been locked from the inside, Inspector? Correct. All of which leaves her ladyship's friend in something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid. Obviously, my personal opinion is that it's all some sort of misunderstanding. Of course it is, Inspector. Of course it is. Rexy, do you know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley alright? Is he? The thing is, Don't mince your words, Inspector, please. You don't mean to say that Mr. Sholmes is... No, the operation's done and dusted. It's just that, well... Out with it! Yes, ma'am. They use something called a general anesthetic. It's the latest thing, renders the whole body insensitive. The whole body anesthesia? Is that even possible? It means the operation can be completed while the patient is fast asleep. Goodness, in the Empire of Japan, we can just manage to provide laughing gas for a tooth extraction. The trouble is, the latest thing isn't always the greatest thing, if you follow my meaning. They couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours for him to nod off, or so I hear. And now that the op's finished, they can't get him to wake up, apparently. No one knows if it's the anesthetic still in his system, or if the bloke's just plain exhausted. But anyway, all they can do is stand back and watch until he comes around again. Hurley. The moment he opens his eyes, Your Ladyship, I swear I shall get word to you. What a surprise. Even in matters of life and death, Mr. Sholmes has to do things his way. Gut. Kann ich ihm irgendwas zeigen? Wirklich. Gut, dann würde ich sagen, gucken wir uns hier einmal um. Police have marked the position of the body with a chalk line. Poor Mr. Windybank, he was a nice old man. Well, he was shot just once through the heart. Most likely, the fellow died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing. This must be his blood, then. I'd like to ask at such a wretched time, Iris, but I wonder if perhaps... Don't worry, Susie. I'm ready for action! Blau? Okay. So, now we know the color of... Now we know the color the chemical turns when it reacts with Mr. Windybank's blood. And it doesn't match our analysis of the bloodstain we found in the main shop. No, but let's add the sample to the others we've already collected anyway. Iris. Don't worry, I'm alright. But we must find the true culprit. Yes, absolutely. This is a revolver, a real one. And quite possibly the murder weapon used to take Mr. Windybank's life. What's the matter, Susie? You and Bruno look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that I've rarely seen a gun in the flesh, and I've had issues with guns in the past. But anyway, we saw Mr. Windybank with this yesterday, didn't we? It must be the same gun. And last night, when I looked through the spy hole in the door to the storeroom here, That was the same gun I saw in Gina's hand. Mr. Winniebank told us that he only ever had a single bullet loaded in his revolver, didn't he? Well, it's empty now. The one and only bullet he had in his gun has been fired. So we can be fairly certain that only a single shot was fired from this revolver. Out of all the articles in the storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked. What is it, Iris? That's the box file that my manuscript was being kept in. Iris, unpublished story, The Hound of the Baskervilles? Surely that's not what all this... Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. Must check inside the box at once. It was there. Iris' story was there. Really? It was? Well, that's good news, isn't it, Iris? Yes. I mean, of course I believed Turley when he said he'd posited it here, but still, it's a relief to actually see it. Really? Because that's not a very well-hidden throne. Okay, Iris' manuscript has been entered into the court record. A long unpublished story that Mr. Sholmes deposited at the pawnbrokery of the victim, Mr. Winniebank. It's entitled The Hound of the Baskervilles. Look at all these articles that have been deposited. The room is stuffed full of them. I can't believe how many there are. A bicycle, a gramophone, musical instruments, even some enormous paintings. Look. Pieces of different people's lives, quietly gathering dust in here together. Something very peaceful about the atmosphere in here. Or at least, there would be, if not for the chalk outline on the floor and the policeman shoveling around. Not much I can do about that, Sunshine. Okay. Mehr können wir uns hier aber nicht angucken. Okay. Dann wir zeigen. Was macht denn Sinn? Nicht viel, wirklich. Das Manuscript? Is that what I think it is? Your ladyship's latest... Yes, my latest story. It's called The Hound of the Baskervilles. Oh, most fascinating title, your ladyship. Fascinating, and I don't suppose... Would there be any mention of my humble self in the tale this time? Good question. I can't really remember. I see. Well, why would you, your ladyship? I will just await its publication with eager anticipation. You needn't worry, Inspector. I'm sure if you do appear, you won't be doing anything particularly remarkable. You're looking to be arrested, Sunshine? I didn't mean it like that, and even if I did, you wouldn't have bitten her ladyship's head off, would you? Okay, dazu möchte er uns nichts sagen. You don't mind sharing that then. Okay, aber ich glaube, wir bekommen jetzt so nichts weiter aus ihm wirklich raus. Gut, aber wohin sollen wir dann gehen? Ich kann mir hier nichts mehr weiter angucken. Können wir eigentlich nur... ja, entweder zu Gina gehen oder zu Sherlock. Ich glaube, wir versuchen mal unser Glück. Vielleicht ist Sherlock schon da. Gut. Und die andere Möglichkeit, die wir eben nur noch haben, ist... Okay, jetzt hat sich was getan. It doesn't appear to be here. I believe she must be in questioning at the moment. Oh, but wait a minute. What is it, Iris? Well, if you examine the scene here carefully, there's another possibility, isn't there? Ginny could have slipped the key from the jailer when he wasn't looking and escaped. Oh my. Why would she do something like that? It would only make her situation worse. Calm down, Runo. I was only joking, of course. You had me worried there. I thought it was a great deduction. Yes, it must be your way with words, Iris. You're so wonderfully persuasive. Perhaps you don't fully understand the way you're... Dear, I am sorry. I suppose a light-hearted great detective is a contradiction in terms. Well, in the same situation, I'm sure Mr. Sholmes would just have thrown his head back and suffered. I'm not entirely sure that's helpful, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, anyway, it looks like we won't be able to talk to Gina for a while. We should try to make progress with our investigation in the meantime. Yes, come along then, Runo. Come along, Susie. Okay, dann können wir hier jetzt auch nichts tun. Aber was soll ich denn da noch untersuchen? Habe ich das... mich draußen umgucken? Nicht wirklich. Oder? Kann man hier... Nee. Hier gibt es leider auch nicht wirklich viel zu sehen in der Baker Street. Dann muss ich doch aber irgendwas bei Mr. Winniebank übersehen haben, oder? Wenn sich jetzt nicht durch mystische Weise was jetzt verändert hat hier. Natürlich nicht. Gut, dann gehen wir jetzt nochmal zu Mr. Winniebank. Und dann gucken wir hier nochmal. That's the music box. Do you have them where you come from, Runo? Yes, but I've never seen one as large as this in Japan. Oh, well, this will be a treat. Shall we have a listen? What do you think? Isn't it a pretty sound? It's a beautiful sound, yes, but it's a little hard to enjoy when all the policemen in the room are giving you fierce looks. Never mind that. If any of them say anything, I will tell Grexy to have a word. Iris Wilson, Superintendent of Scotland Yard. Ja, aber das sind ja alles keine wichtigen Hinweise für den Fall. Eigentlich. That ledger that's open on the counter there really is enormous, isn't it? It must be an awful lot of work to keep track of all these hundreds of items in pawn. It's too much to think about. Better to sell it all and have a clear head if you ask me. But clearly Mr. Winniebank was very careful when it came to the articles in his care. Okay, also die einzige andere Möglichkeit... Was haben wir alles? Wir haben unser Armband... Pawnbroker's ticket box from the pawnbroker owned by the victim, Mr. Winniebank, in the form of some handwritten notes on the back. Code. Wir können eigentlich nur noch Rexen dann versuchen, das zu zeigen. Den anderen Zettel. Inspector, what do you make of this? Oh, what have we here then? A redemption ticket for an article deposited here, is it? Looks like someone ran out of office stationery and wrote the ticket on whatever paper was to hand. Yes, this is a ticket for McGillet's overcoat, the one that little diver turned up with yesterday. Oh, actually no, it's not. Really? Think you know better than me, do ya? No, I didn't mean to, Bruno's right, Grexy. It isn't the same ticket. Of course it isn't, of course it isn't. I never doubted your ladyship. So what's all this about then, if I might be so bold as to ask? This is a second ticket. A second one? It seems that Mr. McGilda in fact had another article in storage here at Winniebank's. Is that right? I think we need to discuss this further with the inspector, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh good, because he's ever so easy to talk to. This ticket was in one of the pockets of Mr. McGilda's overcoat. You mean to tell me? Yes, there was more than just the music box disc, it seems. I should have insisted on the lads taking it back to the yard and examine it properly. Well, according to the details on this ticket, Mr. McGilda deposited another article here with Mr. Winniebank. Yes, I can see it written here. A small box, was it? Do you have any idea where it is, Craxy? Any idea at all? It's another article belonging to Mr. McGilda. It could be an important clue. Well, yes, I suppose it could be. Please stop looking at me with those big turkey's eyes, all full of hope and expectation. It's too much pressure. I will lose me marbles, I will go barking. This is no time for dog impressions. Oh, falsche Stimme. This is no time for dog impressions, Inspector. That's enough sauce from you, Sunshine. There is one thing that springs to mind. According to this ticket, the redemption deadline's already passed, hasn't it? Oh, yes, of course. Articles are only held for 2 months. But a small box will no longer be in here then. That's right, it's been forfeited. Which means it could be on the shelves in the front of the shop, where the forfeited items are offered for sale. Yes, the shelves on the front. We must search them at once. You're wasting your time. There are dozens of little boxes out there, hundreds even. We can't possibly know which one might have been McGilda's. That information's not written on the ledger. Well, I think we should at least have a look, just in case. Of course, your ladyship, of course. Very sensible of you, I'm sure. This is getting old. I nearly jumped out of my skin there. How could Mr. Winniebank set such a wicked trap? I doubt he set out to scare anyone. Is that really the time? I think perhaps we should pay Gina another visit soon. Her trial is tomorrow. We must establish whether or not you will be defending her. I think we should ask her one more time. She may have changed her mind. Don't you remember, Runo? You told her she could rip up the representation papers if she didn't want you to be her lawyer. Really? Did I say that? Yes, you did. The deadline for submitting the paperwork is fast approaching. In that case, we had better hurry back to the prison and talk to Gina again. Okay, dann auf zum Gefängnis.